we'll go from there. So, okay, we are recording. Great. Well, thanks everybody who is tuning in to the first ever Lunch with the Ladies Torii edition. We have Annabelle joining us from Los Angeles and Jarman joining us from San Francisco / San Jose.
Hi.
And I am Mike Sokolowski. I am not a lady, but for the next half hour, I thank you for bestowing such an honorary title on me. I'm glad I get to host this. So yeah, we figured. Anytime. Thanks, Annabelle. So, you know, I'm in Boston. We have, like I said, San Jose, San Francisco, and Los Angeles. So it's a nice little mix of different markets that we can all kind of speak on, but I'll facilitate the conversation and we'll go to Jarman first. Just thinking about April this time right now versus April last year when nobody had any idea of what the protocols were or what was going on, or should I sell my house or should I not be buying or anything like that. So just give me like an idea of how the market has changed during the pandemic now that we're kind of on our way out of it.
Well, market in the Bay Area is still crazy, very competitive because inventory is super low. Last year, I remember I had a client got in contract around March, April, and we were like the only offer. It was super easy, and they were able to go at asking price with contingencies because a lot of buyers were so uncertain with pandemic. So there was a hold, nobody was leaving their home. So this year, April is super competitive. We get 30, 40 offers per home. I guess buyers are out there and they're buying.
Yeah,
regardless.
That's crazy. So you're saying like basically last year, if you were buying around this time last year and you had the like kind of gumption and guts to actually go out and do this, it really benefited you at that point?
Yeah. Yes.
Gotcha. Cool.
Don't forget last year, if I could just chime in.
Yeah, it was, about please, let's open it.
It was right when we hit this whole COVID pandemic shutdown. And so a lot of sellers kind of froze, right? Because people were not comfortable having people in their homes. And to be honest, there are still those people out there, and we will see a little more supply, according to some polls, that of buyers that are now, or sellers that are now more comfortable listing their homes because restrictions have been lifted, there's vaccinations available, you know, rates are going down. So we will see a little more inventory based on that. I can't tell you, you know, how many more, sure. But that is what was going on a year ago. People were just on lockdown.
Yeah, it would stand a
times.
What's that, Jarman?
It was scary times. People didn't know what's going on. That's
kind of what I wanted to ask is basically, were you going into homes? How were the showings like during that initial?
I was scared. I remember my first time I went out to go show a house. I threw away my gloves and I was just really scared. I didn't know. So yeah, it was definitely different times. Scary for sellers, buyers. You know, people were not leaving their homes.
Definitely.
Virtual showings became really popular and still are, but definitely. As a listing agent, that was critical, is to be able to have, you know, virtual types of showings or film available, and buyers would buy sight unseen. You know, they know the area, you know, they're generally comfortable with the homes in the neighborhood, and they would go sight unseen. And you could do that because, like Jarman was saying, at that point, you know, contingencies were in place. Mm-hmm. You know, it wasn't competitive in terms of lifting contingencies with your offer. And
so question for you. So you're saying that basically they would get a video back, they'd put in an offer, get accepted, but then would they go in and do the inspection, or what was going on with that?
Yeah, they would get an inspector. Regulation was changing with CAR, the Association of Realtors, on what could and couldn't be done. But yes, an inspector was allowed in. And yeah, you would take those inspections, those were critical. And, but yeah, at first you would have that offer accepted and so on and so forth.
Gotcha. Okay, so they could still back, like it wasn't as big of a risk because you can still back out from an inspection.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But there were still multiple offers. I remember, maybe 3 offers happening, because rates started going down. The interest rates started going down on mortgages, and people who were familiar with the market or may have been looking a little earlier, they latched onto that pretty quickly. And it was rates that we hadn't seen in a long time, so
no fear of virus, just low mortgage rates will get people to do pretty much anything.
Yeah, they can afford more, investors are out there. A lot of people were moving to suburbs from cities because they were they had this COVID scare definitely made people rethink. They didn't want to be in, close quarters. They wanted some more space. Things like that were happening, definitely.
Gotcha. Great. Well, thanks for that, guys. And then, so we'll get out of the pandemic talk and just in a general sort of, you both have been pretty experienced doing this for a while. Just talking about what's your first kind of memorable, when did you get into this? What's the first memorable experience that you had buying or selling or in real estate in general that you could speak on, just to kind of walk down memory lane with me? So who wants to start on that?
Go ahead, Annabelle.
Well, thankfully, my favorite buyer, I love all buyers, investors,
Sure.
But there's nothing like the first time home buyer.
Mm-hmm.
It just, every time I close a sale with a first time home buyer, it takes me right back to my first experience. It's almost like emotional for me because everybody remembers their first home. Everybody, no matter what it was, a condo, townhouse, apartment, you always remember the first home that you bought for yourself. And it's just such an exciting moment. Mm-hmm. And thankfully, my first sale or my first representation of a buyer was a young couple. It was their first time buying, and just the emotion, tears when I handed them the keys. And but every time I have a first time home buyer, it's always the same, kind of excitement, and I love it. Cool. Every single time.
Oh, that's great. Jarman, any specific things stick out?
Yeah, I'm still friends with my first time buyers, first clients. They were working with an agent that was working at that time. This was back in 2015. That was working with homes that was 1.5, 1.3, 4 at that time. Wow. And these guys were looking to buy at $500,000. And so I remember they were kind of felt like not being paid attention to. So I jumped in, and I was on a team, and I jumped in, and I used to help them with disclosures, provide disclosures, schedule appointments. Mm-hmm. So I jumped in and took over, and they ended up buying a house, and they were really happy. They invited me over for their ceremony when they purchased the home. They had a ceremony, and when they had their first child, me and my daughter went to go visit them. Oh. Yeah, it was great. It was great because they were so sweet, and they just kept getting rejected offer after offer, and they were still out there, and they ended up buying a house.
That's great. And that probably leads me to my next question is just how do you, if you were to actually, think about how that relationship developed, you know, how do you build a relationship with your clients that like they can trust you, and then it does spill over into sort of real life after that? So yeah, like what would you say that you do, or what's the kind of experience like when that happens? Jarman, if you want to continue on.
Yeah, I just want to treat people the way I want to be treated. So basically, I try to step in their shoe. Sometimes when they are frustrated or mad, and then I try to not take it personal and think, why is this going on? And, you know, and then be more patient and more understanding, because it is a tough market. It's very competitive, and time after time when someone's submitting offers and their offer is not getting accepted, you know, it does actually affect them personally. So I try to like pretend I'm the client, and what would I do? How would I want to be treated? And that's how I treat, you know, people like, you know, someone who's buying a house and it's a lot of stress and pressure. So just kind of trying to be more patient and understanding and become friends.
Yeah, that's great. We you know, you have to like figure out how to keep it light sometimes. So like during competitive markets over here, after 3 rejected offers, we'll send somebody a little Zen garden, like kind of as a joke, you know, but like they get to, you know, it shows that it's not as like, you know, it stinks, but you might as well make the most of it and the lightest of it. So Annabelle, thoughts on like, you know, your really good clients, or how that manifested or became a relationship?
No, definitely echoing Jarman. I think meeting face to face is always really important to establish relationships, open communication, and honesty. And a client can tell, you know, anyone can tell when you're being honest or not. And just always open and honest with your clients, demonstrated knowledge, no false promises, and just treat them like Jarman said, how you would a friend or family. Mm-hmm. And really listening. I remember my first, when we bought our first home, I got so lucky because I had what I thought was the best real estate agent that I had ever encountered. And I always think about him. And he sat us down and interviewed us as buyers. And he really got down to what was important to us. So things like, you know, we'd say, we want a big yard, we want a big garden. And he'd say, okay, well, let's think about this. Is this something, do you want to work in that garden? Like, are you going to be out there? Or do you just want to look at the garden? Or, you know, he was trying to really get down, and it made us think. You're like, well, maybe that is a lot of work. And sure, you know, we both work jobs and long days, and maybe, you know, we want to make a trade-off for, you know, for that. And he really made us think. He had a great checklist, and I try to do the same with my clients. You know, once they tell me what is important to them, I try to dig a little deeper, sure. You know, and so that they start thinking, well, maybe, you know, maybe that isn't as important, or maybe I didn't think about the work involved, or, you know, or maybe I want another bedroom instead of a bigger yard. And so just really getting to know them and what's important to them, and always keeping that in mind when showing them and looking for houses.
Lovely. Ah, man, perfect. Couldn't have said anything better myself. That's awesome. Yeah, so specifically, we'll go into like kind of markets more deeply in your specific ones, but so the fact that you're both selling in California, it's a gigantic state. It's got a lot of people. It's very different from north to south. So if Annabelle, if you want to start, just like what would you say in terms of putting a deal together is more unique to Los Angeles or the surrounding area versus maybe other parts of California or outside that?
You know, I think about that question a lot. Things have changed a lot. It used to be that a lot of buyers or sellers didn't have inspections up front, but I think now with this climate, and a lot of buyers wanting to release their inspection contingency with their offer in order to get it approved. You see more inspections up front, but I don't think it's entirely different than maybe the rest of California. It's super competitive in Los Angeles.
What would you say is like the maybe specific products that would be like, is a high rise something, or like a type of single family home or something like that?
So, yeah, so single family homes are very popular. Coastal homes are very popular. We don't have as many high rises here as you might. We are very much we are a town or a city of villages. So in every village, so every area is very different.
Okay.
And unique. We don't have as many gated communities as you would see in Orange County or other parts of California. So everything's really unique. The great thing about us is we have perfect weather. So you don't, we do. And you don't come here, and generally speaking, you don't come to LA to be inside your house. I like to say, you're out a lot, you are out in the community a lot. So that's really important part. Maybe that's a big difference too, is the community around your home. We really take that in.
Gotcha.
Things to do, being outside walking. Yeah,
you're by the beach, so yeah, you can't beat that.
Yeah.
Jarman, so yeah, San Francisco, talk to me about it. I know you're broken up into various areas, and how might those differ from one another, and then maybe the rest of California.
Well, San Francisco is a city with a bunch of high-rise buildings, and maybe not like New York, but they're about 5, 6 stories, 7, or a little bit here and there higher. I live in San Jose, which is more of a suburb, and so I'm close to a lot of the companies that are Silicon Valley. So
Okay.
there's a lot of people that are moving in the area that are from all over the world. So it's just a little bit different. Like San Francisco is more of a city. People are more out eating, doing stuff. And then where I live, it's a little bit more of a suburb. People are more families, and I don't know.
Yep, gotcha. And so, and Annabelle said that you're seeing some sellers now doing inspections, so that can all be waived. That was pretty commonplace in San Francisco, right? Or has been?
Well, in my area, it's been like this for a while now, where they basically have the inspections up front, because for a while now we have where the contingencies are removed. And so when they have them up front, basically it's just easier for the buyers to know what they're coming across, what they're dealing with. And the sellers, when they want for a buyer not to back out and have a more of a solid transaction, they provide the inspections up front. So yeah, usually what I do with my clients, I have a consultation up front, and we go over these details.
Gotcha. Yeah, so that they're prepared to.
Yeah.
If you don't know any better, it's a lot to take in for how it is. So 100%. All right. Well, that's great. Yeah, we'll just do a couple more questions. So if we move now, thinking in terms of the viewpoint of your clients, for your past transactions, recently closed ones, who are the happiest clients even well after the fact of their purchase, right? Like, what did they do? Like, we can only do so much. You have your consultation, but what did they do to make sure that they're like set up so that it is the right purchase for them?
I can chime in on that quickly. I think it goes back to what I said earlier. They made the right trade-offs. They made trade-offs that had long-term ramifications in a positive sense. So I'll give you a good example is I have a couple looking and they just had a baby. And the first thing I said to them was, have you considered school systems? And they thought, what? Like, we just had this baby. Like, like we're just processing being parents. And, you know, and I bring this question up always to new parents because I know that when my first house, I wasn't even married yet. And I had purchased it and I bought in a good school system because they said, oh, well, those houses usually appreciate better. So I thought, okay, well, I want a house that appreciates, but you know, maybe I'll move me. Well, anyhow, I ended up getting married in that home while I lived at that home and having my kids there. And thank goodness, you know, because it was one less stress. The years, they catch up on you, I would say. And especially if you have a young child. And so the folks that have young babies and consider the school systems, for example, because things start snowballing when you have a kid and job, and all of a sudden it's time for kindergarten, and then they're in this great school system, and they, you know, they lock down this great interest rate right now, you know, and they're just thrilled because it's a bit, you know, they can stay in that house that they're in. It's less to worry about, you know, they've got plenty of other things to think about. So just making the right trade-offs, I would say, early on when you're making a purchase.
Great answer. That was great. Jarman, anything else to add or the other?
My most successful clients or the happy ones are, well, all my clients are happy.
Exactly.
but my,
yeah.
But my most successful and happy clients are the ones that I catch at the front. Usually they're like, let's go look at homes. And I try to set up a consultation and go over the details with them and let them know what they need to do as far as like speak to a lender. What's the next step? Like have like a blueprint. And usually things go by faster and they end up not being so stressed out towards the end where they close. They're happy because it wasn't like a miserable, long transaction for them.
Sure.
So that
like
seems to work.
Basically.
Preparation and transparency.
Good answer. Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. Last question, just a light one, but like you have to deal with so many people, including me. How do you stay sane throughout the day or weeks, and how do you balance it out? Because talking to so many people when they're only coming to you, well, not only, primarily coming to you with problems, and it's so involved in their life. What do you do to like
stay organized?
Stay organized and stay sane, I suppose, Jarman.
Well, use your calendars, be organized, work with a team that is supportive, and you know, and then once in a while, take time off.
We're working on that still. We're working on that.
I'm going to echo that. Torii has been a fabulous team to work with, really more than any that I have worked with in the past. And part of that is the support. So without that support, you know, that support helps me stay organized and helps me stay sane. And I pass that on to my clients. You know, I always just, when they're stressed or if anything, you know, I try to take it for them, you know, and be a problem solver. That's initially what I go to. And, you know, and then just knowing that everything will work out. Everything's going to work out, and letting my clients know that and believing that myself. So that's always a sanity check.
That's so kind. The correct answer was beer. Sorry. No, but that's great. And then we can wrap it. I mean, look at this. First one, perfect timing. Great.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah. We love lunching with you, Mike.
Thank you, ladies.
Yes.
For
you
inviting
can lunch with the ladies anytime.
Appreciate it. All right, we'll get a coffee soon. But yeah, we'll sign off. Let me stop recording here. Goodbye, Zoom universe.